The first sound I noticed wasn't anything unusual for a ranch morning. Low, distant rumbling. Out here you hear plenty of farm trucks, sometimes the occasional delivery van headed to one of the neighboring sprids. But this was different. Heavier. Almost like thunder rolling over the ground. I was halfway through fencing when it grew postholver, steadier, and undeniably mechanical. I paused, leaning on the shovel handle, squinting down the dirt road that cut through my property. A heat shimmer blurred the horizon, but soon enough, shapes began to emerge. Big shapes. The first bus appeared in a cloud of dust, a gleaming white charter coach with tinted windows. Behind it, another came into view. Then another. My stomach dropped as I counted. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Several five-passenger buses to tail groaning as they bounced along my road like they belonged here. What in the hell? I muttered under my breath. The lead bus slowed, tires crunching gravel, and then with a loud hiss of brakes, it stopped right in front of my pasture gate. The door folded open with a mechanical whine, and chaos poured out. People, dozens of them, spilled onto my land like it was the opening act of a carnival. Bright neon tank tops, Hawaiian shirts, straw hats, and plastic lei. Some carried folding chairs. Others dragged massive coolers, the kind that could hold enough beer for an army. Music thumped from portable speakers as if they had rehearsed this entrance. Whoa! I shouted, dropping the shovel and jogging toward the growing crowd. This is private property. You can't just. A sunburned man in cargo shorts and mirrored sunglasses stumbled past me, balancing a 12-pack on his shoulder. He barely looked up. Relax, man, the HO president said it's all good. He laughed and clapped me on the back like I was part of his drinking crew. Before I could answer, another bus door opened, and a new flood of Partiers streamed out, some carrying inflatable flamingos, others hauling portable grills. A girl in platform sandals with glitter on her cheek snapped selfies with the cows grazing in the distance. One of the animals spooked and bolted. I sprinted toward the bus driver, waving my arms. Stop unloading. This is my land, not some damn fairground. The driver shrugged, unimpressed. Lated, she rented it. Said she was the owner's rep. I'm just doing what I was paid for. That's when I heard the sharp, clipped sound of high heels on gravel. I turned and my blood ran cold. There shit. Hairsprayed. Into a helmet of authority, oversized sunglasses hiding her eyes, and a clipboard tucked under her arm like she was overseeing a construction site. She walked with the kind of confidence only a lifetime of bullying neighbors could build. Good morning, she called, raising her voice over the music. Isn't this marvelous? Look at all this wasted space finally being put to good use. I froze in disbelief. Karen, what the hell are you doing? She tilted her head, feigning innocence. Well, as president of the Homeowners Association, I've arranged a little community celebration. Everyone felt like we needed to get together and enjoy ourselves. You've got all this empty land, and it seemed perfect for the event. My voice cracked with anger. This is my ranch. My pasture. You can't just bust people in here like it's a pair and smiled. The kind of smug pinch that said she'd already decided she was right, no matter what. Oh, don't be so selfish. You hardly ever use this space. Look at it. Just grass and cows. The community deserves to enjoy it too. We voted. I practically laughed. You don't get to vote on my property. Behind us, the party was ramping up. Someone set up a massive speaker system, blasting bass that rattled the windows of my barn. A group of men dragged a folding table into place and started stacking beer cans into a pyramid. Children ran screaming through the grass, chasing each other with water balloons, trampling my carefully maintained fencing line. Get them out of here, Karen, I shouted, my hands balled into fists at my sides. This is trespassing. You're breaking the law. She clicked her tongue, writing something on her clipboard as though I were a student being graded. You're always so dramatic. Honestly, you should be thanking me. This is the most lively your land has ever been. People are finally appreciating it. I could feel my pulse pounding in my temples. One of the buses honked its horn, and another wave of partygoers streamed out, chanting and clapping in rhythm like they were heading into a stadium. A woman spread out a blanket right in the middle of my driveway. Two teenagers started spraying champagne over the crowd like they just won a championship. This is insane, I muttered, fumbling for my phone. My hands shook as I dialed the sheriff's office. Karen noticed and laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. Go ahead, Mum. Do you really think they'll side with you against the whole neighborhood? It's 7 buses full of your neighbors, having fun. You'll just look petty, I snapped. When you're trespassing, when you're letting 100 drunk strangers trample my land. You bet I'll call. She didn't flinch. She just kept smiling. That infuriating smile that said she was untouchable. I turned away, lifting the phone to my ear, but my eyes scanned a mess already spreading across my property. Beer cans glinted in the sunlight, tossed into the grass. Cigarette smoke curled into the air. Someone had already set up a grill too close to my wooden fence, flames licking higher than I liked. The cows had retreated to the far corner of the pasture, skittish and unsettled by the noise. The sheriff's dispatcher answered, and I forced my voice to stay calm. Yes, I need officers out to my property immediately. There are 7 charter buses full of trespassers here, sent by my HOA president. They're refusing to leave. As I gave the address, Karen leaned closer, lowering her sunglasses just enough for me to see her eyes. Bright, you'll regret this, she whispered. I clenched the phone tighter, refusing to let her see me waver. No, Karen. You will. The dispatcher assured me help was on the way. I hung up, my jaw tight, and stared at the pandemonium around me. My peaceful ranch had turned into a nightmare in the span of minutes. And at the center of it all stood Karen, clipboard in hand, smiling like a queen surveying her conquered land. But she didn't realize she'd just crossed the line from nuisance to criminal. And I wasn't about to let her get away with it. The dock seemed to hum with the echo of laughter even after Karen stormed off, but the celebration wasn't over. Not quite, she returned. At first it was just the faint clatter of heels on wood, sharp and impatient. Then her voice came, shrill as ever, slicing through the music and chatter. Don't think you've won. This isn't finish it. Everyone groaned collectively, like an audience forced to endure the return of a villain after the credits should have rolled. Guests exchanged exasperated glances, and phones were raised again, this time openly, shamelessly. Karen marched back onto the dock, her oversized sunglasses still perched defiantly on her nose, though her hair had begun to frizz in the humid afternoon air. The 2 so-called security guards trailed behind her reluctantly, their neon vests dangling loosely now, one of them even unzipped. They looked less like enforcers and more like guilty kids caught sneaking into a movie. You stepped forward, calm but resolute, your shoes thudding against the planks. The lake lapped gently below, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in Karen's expression. Karen, you said evenly, your voice carrying over the crowd, whatever you think is happening here, it's not. This is my property, my lake. You have no authority here. She jabbed her clipboard toward you like a sword. Authority is earned through leadership, and I am the voice of this community. You can't just throw wild parties whenever you feel like it. Your wife joined you at your side, folding her arms across her chest. The sash that declared birthday queen glittered in the sun. It's my birthday, she said flatly. Not a rave. Not a wild party. Just my family and friends enjoying the lake that we own. You weren't invited, Karen, so why are you still here? The crowd hooped, clapping in approval. The guards looked increasingly uncomfortable under the weight of so many amused stares. You held up a hand, quieting the guests. Then, with deliberate calm, you addressed the 2 men in vests. Let me ask you something. Who hired you? One of them shifted uncomfortably. Var, she did. And what exactly did she tell you? And the taller one scratched the back of his neck. Said there was a trespassing situation. That we'd be escorting some rowdy folks off private property. Van, do you see any rowdy trespassers here? You asked, sweeping your hand toward the group of families lounging on paddleboards and kids giggling on inflatable flamingos. The guard hesitated. Then he glanced at his partner, who muttered, looks like a. Laughter erupted again, this time louder, bolder. People clapped, some whistled, and a chant of birthday, birthday, started up in the back. Karen's face flushed crimson. She whirled on the guards. Don't just stand there. But the shorter one raised his hands. Look, Mom, we didn't sign up for this. You didn't tell us we'd be walking into someone's private property. This feels like a setup. The taller one sighed and clipping his plastic badge and letting it drop with a clatter onto the dock. Yeah, sorry, we're done here. He peeled off his vest and handed it to Karen, who stood frozen in shock. The other followed suit, muttering, not worth the $50. He shoved his vest into her arms and stepped back, clearly eager to escape the spotlight. Phones zoomed in, capturing every glorious second. The guests roared with laughter, clapping and chanting louder now, their voices bouncing across the water. Karen's composure cracked. She stomped her heel, making the dock shudder. This isn't over, she screeched. You think you can humiliate me like this? I'll have you fined. I'll the sheriff. But the noise drowned her out. The music surged, someone deliberately turning the volume up to drown her tantrum. The partygoers cheered, and a group of kids began blowing party horns in her direction. You're the wife. Crowd slowly quieted again. She stepped forward, her tiara slightly askew but her expression sharp as a blade. Karen, she said, voice calm but carrying the weight of finality. We're not afraid of you. We never were. You've spent years bossing people around, acting like the world owes you obedience. But here's the truth, you can't control everything. Not this lake, not this day, and certainly not us. So take your clipboard, take your attitude, and leave. The silence after her words was electric, charged with anticipation. Then the crowd erupted again, cheering and stomping, the dock bouncing under the weight of their celebration. People shouted your wife's name, chanting it with the rhythm of a rally. Karen's mouth opened and closed, but no words came. For once, she was speechless. Her sunglasses slipped down her nose, and she shoved them back into place with a trembling hand. You'll regret this, she hissed finally, her voice nearly drowned by the roar of the party. All of you. But nobody listened. Nobody cared. She turned sharply, storming back up the slope, her heels sinking awkwardly into the soft earth. The two former guards trailed after her, heads clearly regretting ever answering her call. As she vanished from view, a ripple of relief passed through the crowd. The tension that had crept in with her arrival dissolved, replaced by a buoyant joy. The music blasted again louder than before, and people danced on the dock, clapped along, and raised their glasses in a collective toast. Your wife slipped her arm around your waist, leaning her head on your shoulder. Well, she said with a grin. That was the best birthday entertainment I could have asked for. You chuckled, pressing a kiss to her temple. I didn't plan it, but hey. Free comedy show. Across the dock, guests were already sharing clips from their phones. Laughter ringing out as they replayed Karen's meltdown in slow motion. Someone had even set it to music, the sound of a trombone wah perfectly timed to her stump of frustration. The kids went back to splashing in the water. Adults lounged in chairs with drinks in hand, and the flamingo float bobbed lazily against the dock. It was as though the storm had passed, leaving the party brighter and more alive than ever. The sun dipped lower, painting the lake in hues of gold and rose. As candles were lit on the cake and everyone gathered around to sing, your wife's smile was wider than it had been all day. She closed her eyes, made a wish, and blew them out in a single breath, the smoke curling into the evening air like a promise of better things to come. And when the cheer went up, echoing across the water, there was no trace of Karen's shrill voice, no shadow of her clipboard. Just joy, laughter, and the kind of memory that would be retold for years to come. About the day she tried to call in fake security to kick you off your own lake, and failed spectacularly.